Welcome to today's Youth Council meeting. It is May 10th, 2023, and it's currently 11:36 a.m., and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Next is agenda. So I'm going to take attendance. Just say here when you hear your name. Ahmed Othman. Aliyah Tui.
Here.
Ala Othman.
Here.
Dhruvi Manu. Elizabeth Menjivar. Juliana Spalding.
Here.
Madeline Naper.
Here.
Maya Pollock.
Here.
Matt said that he wouldn't be here. Olivia Wall.
Here.
Paige Arkansas.
Here.
Sadie Lomnack. Sophia Panaghetti.
Here.
And Thomas Baranata.
Here.
Thank you. Next is public comment. I don't think there's anyone here. Okay. Next is the approval of minute meeting. And so we have some from November 9th, I believe, and then our last meeting, April 27th, because there was a recording issue from November. So Ali, do you want to go over those ones first?
Yes. So at our November 9th meeting, we were called into order at 11:47 a.m. And then we had
I don't think you have to go over.
yeah. Okay, so we had some liaison updates from Vanessa talking about the Council on Aging. We had a Veterans Day cleanup update about logistics that we were doing. We had a Snow Angels project update, confirming that we would do the Snow Angels project again, and then we would work on a flyer. We quickly discussed the town meeting from November, which was on November 19th. And then we had a communications subcommittee update talking about promoting Veterans Day cleanup. And then do we want to approve those first and then I do the November 20, the meeting minutes from our last meeting?
Yeah, I think that sounds good. So do I hear a motion to accept the November minutes?
I motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, I'm just gonna go down the list now. Aliyah Tui,
Yes.
Ala Othman,
Yes.
Juliana Spalding,
Yes.
Madeline Naper,
Yes.
Maya Pollock,
Yes.
Paige Arkansas,
Yes.
Sadie Lomnack,
Yes.
and Thomas Baranata.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to give us an update from last meeting?
Yes, so at our last meeting, first we had a Melrose City Council intern introduce himself and explain that he's sitting in on the meeting to see how the youth council operates. Then we had a presentation that was given to us by Catherine talking about the vocational school building project and why there have been some concerns about it and how the project has been moving forward. And then Town Councilor Jonathan Chines also concurred with Catherine and provided some more logistical information about that. Then we did a recap of our Recycling and Sustainability Day event, talking about what happened, and then we discussed budgeting for potentially for fiscal year 25. Then we discussed the Warrior Cleanup, talking about how it's taking place on May 20th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that video will be made with WCAP for the event. Then we discussed youth council applications, talking about when they're due, where to find them, and our social media and promotion strategies for it. And then for communications outreach, we quickly touched on the youth interest survey. And then Town Councilor Chines gave us some updates from the Town Council talking about the town election and a town meeting. So that was all.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we will approve those minutes now. So do I hear a motion to accept the minutes from our last meeting?
I motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Aaliyah Tui,
Yes.
Ala Elfman,
Yes.
Juliana Spalding,
Yes.
Madeline Neighbor,
Yes.
Maya Pollock,
Yes.
Paige Arkansas,
Yes.
Sadie Lomni,
Yes.
and Thomas Farinata.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. So we'll be moving on to item number 5. So we have a special guest today with us, Lana Leonard, from GLAD, giving us a presentation on what their organization does and kind of giving us a brief overview and, how we can kind of support their mission.
Hi, everyone. It's really, really great to be here with you all today. I do have a presentation for you. I will introduce myself within that presentation, but my name is Lana Leonard. My pronouns are they, them. And I'm really excited to share my screen and present with you all today. So I will go through that here. I realized I was muted. Can you all see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm very excited here. Okay, let's begin. So, go into presentation mode, slideshow. There we go. Okay. So, today we will be talking a little bit about GLAD. And we were founded in 1985 in a response to the AIDS crisis. The reason that GLAD came about was because, kind of like what we're seeing today in numerous news publications, from the New York Times to the Washington Post, to commentary news such as Fox News, even CNN and MSNBC, we're seeing a lot of misinformation and disinformation about LGBTQ people. That was happening during the AIDS crisis in '85. What we could say about 1985 and the way the AIDS crisis was being presented, and the verticals at which we now work in through film, TV, news, gaming, marketing, social media, Spanish language media, communities of color, training, consulting, research campaigns, that wasn't always the case. We tended to focus on TV, film, and news, and we were focusing on correcting the narratives for LGBTQ people like we see today. However, there's just more for us to look at these days that is impacting the vast LGBTQ community. In the AIDS crisis, I'll bring this up just to give you an idea of what we have here in this country that we may not see reflected in the larger world. And one of those things is the free press. And in the 80s and 90s, while the AIDS crisis was at a peak, people in the UK, for example, had no access to LGBTQ news on AIDS. So people were getting their news from the United States. So just to give you a little historical context to that, Entertainment Weekly today, now more present time, named GLAD one of the Hollywood's most powerful entities. And LA Times described GLAD as the most successful organization lobbying for media inclusion. And having these expansive verticals has truly helped us in those goals. So as I mentioned, my name's Lana. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I am a media advocate and a multimedia journalist. I'm a freelance journalist when I'm not at GLAD. And I do have my own talk show that we are on kind of a bit of a hiatus, but we are in the process of producing a new chapter of the show. The show is called Late Nights with Lana, a kind of play on a late night talk show, which featured the first ever non-binary host, myself. It was supposed to be kind of a jokey thing that turned into something really serious and fun and collaborative with my community from the Jersey Shore, which you'll see here at Asbury Park Press, which is a New Jersey publication based in Asbury Park.
think you're muted, Lana.
Am I still muted?
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good. What was the last, did I cut out for a while?
No, just for a little bit.
Okay, thank you. So I write for local publications like out in Jersey, where it's predominantly LGBTQ news, and then local news, the Asbury Park Press. But my official title at GLAAD is an associate of the GLAAD Media Institute. So what GLAAD tries to do is to take legal equality to lived equality. You know, we could pass laws all day, but unless people actually see LGBTQ people as equal to them, that are non-LGBTQ, it's very hard to enforce these laws in a way where we're actually seeing that equality reflected in our day-to-day life as acceptance. So one of the key things that we do, or one of the media plays a key role in promoting this cultural understanding of LGBTQ lives, because sometimes our first frame of reference is to television and movies and what we see on the cover of magazines. We've found that in some of our surveys, this P&G survey, that audiences who have consumed LGBTQ media images in the media in the past 3 months reported 11% to 14% greater acceptance of LGBTQ people, because we're seeing those actual accurate representatives of the LGBTQ community. And what you can see on the right here is some clips from a cut from Strange World. GLAAD worked with the NFL. I don't think a lot of our leadership would have thought that, you know, we would have been working with the NFL in '85. And then, holding the New York Times accountable for their inaccurate coverage of trans people's rights to access life-saving medical care. And then to the Pope, who has spoken in regards to at least LGBT equality in the world. I will maybe end up skipping a few slides because I know we're on a tight schedule. So just to give you a little bit of an overview of this is where some of our other advocacy comes over, the Vito Russo test, which I'll bring up in a moment. And Vito Russo is one of the original founders of GLAAD. The GLAAD Media Institute was founded later to encompass research and training. Some of the stuff that I'm doing right now with you, this is where this training would come from, as an extension of the Media Institute to inform youth such as yourself or advocates out in the field. That's where our work on disclosure really comes in, where we've seen how trans people have been represented in television and movies throughout decades, and how those moments are usually called disclosure moments in film, and how trans people's representation in film has really driven a lot of the misinformation we hear about trans people that is dangerous and oftentimes lethal. So this is a little bit on language and terminology. I'm not sure what you're familiar with in terms of LGBTQ language, but this is our GLAAD Media Reference Guide, which is developed for journalists, but can be used by anyone really trying to learn more and expand on LGBTQ language and terminology. So you could see here some of the terms and guidance that we will give to people, from HIV to trans people to older LGBTQ people, which is a generation of our community that has been lost to AIDS. We remember that our elders are people that have needs and need an understanding that maybe people are not taking to heart when they're writing LGBTQ elders into television, TV, or about such in news. So LGB is sexual orientation, and the T is gender identity. The two often get conflated. So LGB, lesbian, gay, bisexual, plus, could be pansexual, you could be a romantic. Your sexual orientation is who you fall in love with, or perhaps you don't fall in love with, and who you are is your gender identity. Being trans is not now. You don't say you say I am transgender as an adjective. And you say, I am lesbian, gay, or bisexual. But transgender people also have sexual orientations, as do straight people and cisgender people. And so we could see here sex, gender expression, biological, everything is on a spectrum, right? Gender expression, gender identity, biological sex lives on a spectrum. And I am a non-binary person, right? So I live on the spectrum in between or outside men and women. But I'm also trans. So I am a transgender non-binary person. But not all non-binary people are trans, and not all transgender people are non-binary. Trans people could be trans women or trans men. And our gender expression, the way we express ourselves through our clothing and our hair, also lives on a spectrum. So some cultural context, we're just seeing a rise in people coming out as LGBTQ, which is a really amazing thing. That means that people are feeling safer to come out. But this is changing with the climate that we're living in right now. And Gen Z and millennials are making up almost half of our US population, or over our US population, which means that our community is growing, but also growing in the workforce and consumer base, which is a little bit a part of where we get into the marketing business side of things when we're talking about LGBTQ inclusion. And coming down to this cultural context where we're seeing a rise in anti-LGBTQ bills in the state legislatures, we're following these things. We're following these laws, which you could see here is a GLAAD tracker. Over 525 anti-LGBTQ bills have been introduced, but it's also to understand that most of these bills, they say around 90%, do not pass in the state legislature. But for states like Texas and Oklahoma, it's kind of flipped, where 10% of the time the bills don't pass into law, and 90% of the times they do. And in our 2020, our studies show in our 2020 accelerating acceptance, there's updated data on this, but it tends to sort of filter in around the same margins of 89% of non-LGBTQ people and 7% of LGBTQ people believe it's currently illegal under US federal law to evict someone from housing because they are LGBTQ.
Oh, you're muted.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, that's great.
We just have a couple more minutes.
Okay,
I actually
I'm
want
gonna
to bring in some local data to this discussion.
great. I'm going to skip ahead then, because these are some of our resources. You can find them on glad.org/resources or publication. And this is our representation in entertainment studies, our breakdowns, where we are on TV, and our studio responsibility index. And I brought up the Vito Russo test. We could perhaps speak about that if we have time. And then we have other resources like our social media safety index, which you could see all the platforms fail in terms of creating safety for LGBTQ people. Here are some of our games that we've worked on over the years in our gaming sector. And fashion, we work with Victor and Rolf and Savage X Fenty, which is Rihanna's fashion line. And then we also work with sports, as I've mentioned, the NFL. And we've worked on documentaries like Changing the Game. And then transgender and media, we discussed disclosure. And we have our communities of color department. Our Black History in 50 States is one of our GLAAD Media Institute alumni, someone who's taken one of our trainings. And then we have our Spanish language media with Monica Tresandes, and we have advertising in Monica with our advertising and marketing with our Megan Bartley, who runs our marketing sector of the GMI. And then research, that's Tristan Mara. News and rapid response, we saw the New York Times stuff that we showed earlier, our global voices, and our media awards that we have actually on Saturday. And then these are some of my coworkers that feel free to follow on social media for more things GLAAD. And I will leave it there. Thank you all so much. You said you wanted to present other data, is that correct?
Yeah, I just wanted to I thank you for your presentation. This was super helpful. And I wanted to share some local data to be able to understand like what can the role of Wakefield Youth Council do? Because this is an appointed body, and we want to make sure that we're understanding like where our young people are in our community. So I wanted to give some local data that I actually just presented on with some of the school staff. So one of the questions that we ask in our biannual youth risk behavior survey, which is a survey a lot of you probably took in the last few weeks, we asked students who reported, okay, so we asked the percent of middle school students, we also asked this of high school, but I'm going to talk about middle school right now. Percent of middle school students who reported that they agree or strongly agree they feel close to people in their school. So this is something we call a protective factor. So if you feel close to people in your school, there's a lot of chances for you to be able to thrive academically, thrive socially. And so when we asked this of our all middle school students, about 60% of Galvin middle school students felt like they felt close to people in their school, which I think it's concerning because then we have 40%. But when we asked this of our LGBTQ students, the answer was 14% of those students felt close to people in their school. So that's really concerning that is something that's so low, and really thinking about, what's available in the school in Galvin to make people feel that they have close relationships or maybe have support systems. Another question that we asked was around people who reported that they had been electronically bullied online in the past 12 months. When we looked at our Galvin middle school students, 43% of LGBTQ youth reported that they had been electronically bullied, and 30% of LGBTQ youth that identified as LGBTQ at the high school level. So, that's much higher than all Wakefield students, but it's almost double the high school and middle school rates. And then we also have concerns about suicidal ideation. So that's thoughts of suicide. So in general, 9% of Wakefield high school students had thoughts of suicidal ideation. But when it gets to our youth, our LGBTQ youth, that jumps up to 32% of high schoolers. For middle school, we had about 12% of students with thoughts of suicidal ideation. For our LGBTQ students, that jumps up to 64%. So I think it's really concerning, these numbers, when we think locally and thinking about some of the things that GLAAD's doing nationally. What can we do in our community to support our students? So I just wanted to frame it back to our community and think about some of the things that we have done and more that can be done, and what can the Youth Council do to advocate for, more culture of support.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Lana. I wasn't sure if you wanted to kind of expand on that, of like what we can do at the town level.
Yeah, I think being at the town level, I try to tell this to advocates in some of our trainings, that it becomes very overwhelming when we're looking at the nation and we're seeing hundreds of anti-LGBTQ bills being pushed into the legislature, and all these news reports are saying, look what was introduced, as I stated, when most of those bills don't even pass. So the best thing you could do is to look as locally and inward as possible, because that's where you're going to have far more change, or you're being applicable to create change. So I would take a look at who's elected in your localities that is pro-LGBTQ. Who are the people that are doing the work at a legislative level? Who are the people doing the work at an educational level that want to see this inclusion take place? What teachers are creating and providing LGBTQ inclusive curriculum, whether it be in history or in health class? I'm sure all of you at one point or another have questions that you want to ask, or if any of you are afraid to ask those questions, there's a reason. And it's good to wonder why you have that feeling of fear, perhaps. Do you have LGBTQ school groups in your education system? What would it take for you to start one? Have you ever had a pride? Have you organized a pride before? Are there prides that happen in your localities? I think all of these things, they seem like they're small, but when you build a sort of group of community, you're able to see now, oh my God, there is this support. And I think that for those 14% of LGBTQ students that don't feel included, well, why is that? And what are those kids' needs are? What are they not getting? And is there a bullying issue? So I think seeing all of these layers of, from the localness of your school to your representatives in office, and then also your school administration, your school boards. What is the climate around inclusive curriculum in Massachusetts, and how are your local superintendent and school boards dealing with LGBTQ people within education? I think all that will be really important. Also identifying, are there LGBTQ parents in my school? Do those kids need support? Do those parents need support? Can we bring them into a sort of meeting and brainstorm about what we can do to make sure that people know that they're included, not only in the conversations, but in our daily lives and everything that we do, from sports to after school activities.
Thank you so much. Did anyone else have questions? I think we're all set. Thank you so much for your time today, and I will share the slideshow that you made with all of the council members so that they can take a look at some of the slides that we might have missed.
And
Of
Lana,
course.
I want to thank you, because I think those things that you recommended are really good next steps. So I think that at maybe our next meeting, we could have someone from the schools come in and say, this is where we're at, and these are things that we hope to do, and have a discussion to build a more, because we do have that data point that says 86% of our LGBTQ plus students do not feel connected to school. So what are some things that the schools are going to be able to do? And then other things that maybe elected officials in our community. So those were some great concrete next steps.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great way to start, a conversation about this in our town.
That's great. And then also, if there's any LGBTQ outside youth organizations locally, they might also have really great pointers from a local perspective that could help you as well. I think keeping local will also just really be fruitful and beneficial, and help you build those relationships as well.
That's a really
thank
good
you.
point. I actually saw a neighboring community, a group of their high schoolers just got a grant to do a program around LGBTQ youth in sports with coaches, and so they actually have a presentation that I happened to see, and it was fantastic. So it's a really good point as well.
Fantastic. And if any of you have any follow-ups, I'm going to just add my email in the chat, even though I think you all have it. And please reach out to me if you have any questions at all, anything for clarity, anything that GLAD provides that you want to learn more about, whether it be another training, be a training rather than a presentation. Please let me know, and I'm happy to talk about that with other GLAD teammates.
Thank you so much.
Of course. I hope to see you and talk to you all again soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, moving on to our next item. We have the Warrior Cleanup update. So the event is supposed to happen on May 20th from 10 a.m. to noon, and the rain date, it's the next day, so May 21st. So Ali, you've been in contact with Maggie Schaffer, right? And you and Ahmed did a video for promoting the event, right?
Yes, yeah, we did a video with thanks to WCAT. So thank you very much for helping us with that. It was just Maggie just shared with me the finalized video. So hopefully we'll be able to get that up on our social media soon and promote that alongside with the flyer that we have already up. So, and just one other thing that I wanted to add to that was that I was able to get the event posted on Patch, which is great for promoting that.
Great.
And where's the cleanup happening? What are the locations?
Yeah.
I should pay attention to the video, but I haven't. seen it.
So we're meeting, I believe it's the back lot of the Woodville is where we're meeting, and then we're going to move through that area to clean around the schools.
Okay, so it's the high school, Woodville, up to Landrigan.
I'm not sure if I'm not sure exactly where we're going to be going during the cleanup, but I just know that the meeting location is the Woodville School. But
Okay,
you're
I
probably
think that
right
is
with
important to get out
Yeah.
there, like what area will be cleaning
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
so-
I'll follow up with Maggie about that.
I know on the flyer it says like meet at the Woodville, but I don't think it specifies like from there where you're going. I think
Yeah.
it will probably be like divvied up once people arrive. Were there any other comments you wanted to make?
No, that's
before we
all I
move
have
on?
for that.
Okay. So moving on to liaison updates, Juliana, I think you said you had something.
Yeah, so I talked with the Safe Streets Working Group and they want to do a bike valet at the farmer's market this summer, which I think is a really good idea. Probably get more people down there since parking is kind of limited. We'd be like keeping the bikes by the storage container. And they wanted to have two either youth council members or youth action team members staffing it at all times. So one could like sit at a table and check people in, and the other one could watch the bikes and handle the bikes. It would probably be 2.5 hour shifts, one starting at 8:30 and ending at 11, and the other one starting at 11 and ending at 1:30. The farmer's market starts on, I believe, June 17th, and it's on Saturdays until maybe early September. I'm not quite sure about that. But I can set up a sign up genius. And Amy C from the Youth Council emailed me asking if I could share it with her once it was done.
Oh, the
was-
youth action team.
Mhm. I was wondering if anyone had thoughts on the ballet.
Yeah, because that's a lot. If you think about it, we're looking for 2 youth per, so 4 youth per farmer's market, and the farmer's market goes a long time. We'll definitely need to use more youth than just the youth council and the youth action team, or you guys would be very busy.
Yeah, and I'm
So-
definitely willing to pick up at least one shift almost every week.
Oh,
But
that's,
I'm not available sometimes.
I was about to say, that's a lot. What about, are there groups where people need community service hours, like National Honor Society and things
I
like
could
that?
definitely ask Mr. Laurie to post something in the main office. I could email her later today.
Does anyone know if you can start getting National Honor Society credit in the summer months? I'm sure you
I'm sure
could.
it would be
Yeah.
fine.
I wouldn't see an issue.
'Cause that would be like a nice way to get some
Yeah.
community service.
Yeah, kind of get
hours.
them out of the way before our, school starts up.
Okay, thank you.
But I like the idea of the sign up genius, then you know who's, and you could share that with the folks at the farmer's market too, so that they would know who's on that week, and make sure you have the person write their phone number.
Mhm.
So we can do a text reminder or something. That's great though.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you
Do
think?
we have meetings during like the summer months?
We usually meet in June and then the new, so we'll probably have maybe one more meeting and then 'cause we want people to be able to wrap up school and everything. And then the new session will start, we'll do an orientation in July. And then and then start up in late August.
Because the only issue that I could see with this, I guess, would be like staffing it. Like, I know we're very busy during the summer too. But I don't know if like new members that are joining us, if they would like need a little more like guidance, or they would kind of feel uneasy since we hadn't had any meetings or anything kind of to get their footing.
Oh, as far as, well, can you explain to us what a bike valet is?
So I know they got some cool bike racks last summer that you can hang your bike on, like by the bike seat. And it'd just be like people can ride their bikes down to the lake to the farmer's market and leave them there while they go around and shop, so they don't have to like carry their bike around or worry that it might get stolen. And like you'll get a little tag with, I guess, a number on it, I think. And the bike, like the people at the table will also keep a tag, and like you just give it back when you come back for your bike.
So the person working the bike valet is only just switching out the
Yeah,
ticket.
It's kind of like a locker type of
Yeah,
thing.
you're kind of safeguarding the.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like a super difficult position to have. I like the idea too of you partnering with the youth action team, because maybe Juliana, you could have someone from the youth action team be your partner. So it's then all the marketing that goes out gets promotion for the youth council and the youth action team, and both groups kind of have the responsibility. So it's not just on youth council, what how Snow Angels is, which can be a little stressful.
Yeah.
So then you share the responsibility.
Yeah, Amy from the youth council already reached out saying she was very interested in it.
Okay. Oh, from the youth action team.
Yeah,
I know,
sorry,
it's
from,
a bit confusing.
sorry.
Would it be possible to maybe have like a suggested like donation amount of people like who participate in like the valet? Like, I don't know how that would work if you said like, oh, like suggested donation of like a few dollars, but like you don't have to, like it's a free service. I'm not sure how like taking donations would work for like us as a council.
Yeah, donations for the youth council have to be presented before town council. So you could do small donations and then present this person donated $3, but it might be more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah.
But you bring up a good point of this is people coming and they could learn more about the youth council and the youth action team. So that could be an opportunity to say, hey, can you follow us on Instagram and things like that? So that the marketing material you made for the sustainability event could be great for that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you had to like state each like donation we got, or if we could say like, oh, we got like $100 from the bike valet, or if you had
Oh,
to
yeah,
say
you're
each
right.
person.
We might be able to do that. We can check.
Like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because if it was just people just dropping $1 in. But nowadays, a lot of times people don't have cash. I know when I go to the farmer's market, I just use Square or something.
Yeah, I know it can get a little dicey, or like if we did like Venmoing one person, like it can get a little complicated, but I'm just trying to think of how
Yeah,
we could
we could
create a budget for the next year.
Yes, yes. Or we could just do a proposal to town council and say, could we have a budget for next year? So-
I think didn't Counselor Chan say that the year ended for like this upcoming year though?
Yeah.
So we still don't have a budget for the upcoming year, but maybe we could have a proposal for the 24-25 year.
I think that's an excellent excellent idea.
I actually just wanted to comment on that because I think that that's a great idea. And if we were going to like draft a budget proposal for fiscal year 25, maybe it would be positive instead of just like leaving it to the like discussing it at the whole council meetings. It might be good to like potentially create a working group that would specifically focus on writing and crafting the budget to specifically work out what we think would go in it. So
A great idea. And then you can go before town council and present that during budget season. It is hard to operate without any kind of budget.
Mhm. When would like we present that to the council? Because I was thinking like, I don't know what the time frame would be, but if we are giving the council an update at the end of this year saying like, this is kind of what we did, like we could also maybe mention like a budget too. Or I don't know.
We
if that
wouldn't
would
present the
be-
budget then, that's
Okay.
during budget season, but you can say, and just so you know, we'd like to be included in your budget presentations this upcoming year. And then you can, so then they know to, when they're doing their budgets, that they would invite you council to propose a budget.
Mhm. Yeah, because I think that would be a good opportunity to kind of showcase like what we're doing now and like how we could expand with an added budget.
And I don't think you're asking for a lot either.
Yeah. Okay, were there any other liaison updates?
This isn't so much as an update or it's just like a possible idea. I know that the Human Rights Commission does the annual pride flag raising, and I feel like just in turn with what we were just discussing with GLAD, nothing has been sent out yet. I haven't gotten an email about it, but I know that there's like still time, so maybe that could be something that we could advocate for and put in our social media, and I can update you guys when I like get an update on it.
Yeah, definitely. I think I went to their last meeting and they said that it's gonna be June 1st at 5 p.m. and it's gonna be at the BB library, like out on like the plaza. So maybe we could help them, like maybe put up flyers or I don't know if they'd want us like to connect them with maybe like the GSA group at the high school. I don't know if they'd wanna help
Paige,
out.
do you want to find that out?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure who runs it, but I can look into that. Do you
I
know?
think it might be Miss Brazil.
Okay.
I think you're right. I think she took it over from Smiley after.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can email her.
okay, yeah, that sounds good. And then Druvy's not here, but I know they're having the Memorial Day event for placing flags on veterans' graves. So they're having one at the Lakeside Cemetery, May 22nd at 3 p.m. And then another one on the 26th at the Forest Glade Cemetery at 3 p.m. So that's another great opportunity for volunteering, and maybe we could post about that too. I'm not sure if there's any like specific flyers that are already created.
Maybe the
Yeah.
communications subcommittee can make up Instagram, and then it would be great to have at least one youth council member at each of those flag placing events, so we can talk to Drew B to see if we can organize that.
Yeah.
So would you be in touch with him?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll email her.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. And then the last thing that I had was what you sent me, Catherine, about the event that the Council on Aging and the Health and Human Services, along with the Youth Action Team, is having the like classes for
Oh,
about
dementia friends?
yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure what dates they are. Do you have more information?
Well, I think the one that we would want to share is the one for young people. So one of the youth action team members reached out because for personal reasons, she wanted to do something around Alzheimer's and dementia awareness. So she got, this is Abby Hodgson, she got trained to be a dementia friends trainer. So she's going to do a class for youth ages 13 to 18 on how to be a dementia friend. So if you have an elderly, if you have a relative or a neighbor that you'd like to be able to support better, this class is an hour and 15 minutes on Sunday, May 21st. So should I send you the?
Yes.
Okay, so if we can push that out and encourage young people to participate that might want to participate in the training. I know it's going to be really youth focused too, so there'll be activities and you know, I know a lot of people have already expressed interest in learning about that. So if you all can share it on your social media as well, that would be great, because we want to get the word out, you know, because that's what's great about the youth council. You guys have good social media following and your social media gets out there. So I think that would be really helpful.
Yeah, I think I already saw a flyer for the event on the Youth Action Team's Instagram, so maybe we could use that for
Yeah.
kind of a template. Moving on to the communication subcommittee. Do you have an update?
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of great work in regards to applications, and I feel like all of us working together on the communications outreach subcommittee. We have done a lot of posts, flyers, school announcements, patch, so much of that, and and I think that the work has been paying off in regards to the applicants that we've received. So that has been great so far, and it's also showing that our posting calendar that we've made with the guidance of Jen McDonald has been really working because it was extremely helpful and vital to getting everything out there.
I
And
just have to say, I love that you had like the alumni quotes and everything.
Yeah, it looked
and-
really good.
And as a parent, I got the email from I saw it in multiple places, from rec department, from principals and everything, so great job.
yeah, I'm very happy with how everything tied into itself. And then the other stuff that I wanted to touch on were the dementia friends resources that you sent me, and then the Memorial Day flag placing. So those are gonna go up on social media later this week because and I'm gonna add them to the posting calendar so that we can get those up as well. And then also the pride flag raising, I'll make sure to get that up too, talking about that with the HRC. And then besides that, I'm gonna be sending out a doodle poll for our next meeting date, which will probably be next week or the week after.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I think the Wakefield Human Rights Commission is also having an event for Asian Pacific Islander Month too, which is May 27th from 1 to 4 p.m., which is a Saturday at the Civic Center. I'm not sure if they have a flyer yet. I think they might, so I can send that to you and we can post that soon. And if they have one for the pride flag raising, and then they'll also do one for Juneteenth. I think we can repost and share whatever flyer they have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, are there any other announcements? I feel like we went over everything. The only announcement I had was for youth council applications. The last day is today, so make sure you sign up or share the word online with friends, things like that. For our next meeting date, I don't think we have one yet, so watch your emails and we'll probably send out a doodle poll soon. Well, was there anything else that we missed today? No? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
I motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Alia Tui,
Yes.
Ala Othman,
Yes.
Juliana Spalding,
Yes.
Madeline Naper,
Yes.
Maya Pollock,
Yes.
Paige Arkansas,
Yes.
Sadie Lomnack,
Yes.
and Thomas Marinado.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes today's meeting. Thank you all for coming.